Thank you for that exemplary session to all the delegates. Now, moving on to the second session of this, we have Dr. Sejal with us. So, I'll be introducing our next speaker, Dr. Sejal. Our next speaker for this session would be Dr. Sejal Ajmera. She is the founder of Indian Academy of Vaginal Aesthetics. She has done fellowship in advanced master surgical preceptorship in aesthetic vulvovaginal surgery. She has also done cosmetic gynecology cadaveric course, and she has a fellowship in endoscopy, fellowship in IVF, a diploma in endoscopy. She is an international teacher, speaker, operating faculty for various aesthetic workshops, and she has won many awards, medals, Best Speaker and Best Gynecologist Award in 2011. She's practicing as a consultant in Surya Hospitals, Juhu, Mumbai, India. So next, I would like to welcome Dr. Sejal and present her experience with us on prolapse.
A very good evening. I'm so happy to be a part of the Manipal Urogyne conference. Dr. Anshumala, that was a fantastic presentation that we had before this. So really intrigued. Uh, Thank you, Dr. Diksha and team, for having me here today to talk about something that we are just touching upon with the newer aesthetic gynac procedures. But I'm here to open our minds to the various possibilities. I think being a student of OBGYN, we never ever thought that prolapse could be treated like this. And here we are today talking about energy-based devices, something that's totally non-invasive as probably a possible treatment for early prolapse. Can I have the next slide, please? I'm not playing this video, but this is the patient I'm going to be talking about. Can I have the next slide, please? So she is Mrs. SM, a 72 years old lady who came to us about 2.5 years ago. She lived half the year in India, half the year abroad. Her primary complaint was a feeling of organs falling out. She kept having pelvic heaviness off and on, heaviness in the lower abdomen, excessive dryness in the vagina, and increased urinary frequency. She had tried local estrogens in the past, which just helped her a little bit with the urinary frequency and dryness, but that is about it. On examination, she had a grade 1 descent, vaginal laxity, and atrophic vagina. Her PAPS and sonography report were absolutely normal. Next one, please. The treatment options we discussed with her at that point in time were just observation with care to avoid causes of increased intra-abdominal pressure. She had been suggested a vaginal hysterectomy with a repair by a lot of people, even she had gone to earlier. We said, like, we can continue local estrogens under supervision, but just to make her feel better, but she was unhappy with that. And then we suggested to her the radio frequency device. Next slide, please. The procedure was we gave her a monopolar radio frequency device. This is called the transcutaneous monopolar radio frequency. It was done, a full vulvovaginal treatment was done for her. We gave her 3 sittings, approximately each about a month apart. Each treatment took about 25 minutes. There was absolutely no anesthesia, local or otherwise used. Next, please. Well, after 3 procedures, this is the result we got. Her feeling of organs falling out had absolutely subsided. Her washroom visits were much lesser. She had much better lubrication. She had a feeling of well-being. Since she was not actually sexually active, we could not measure her FSFI indexes, which we do for everybody who has vaginal laxity. But on the urinary incontinence scores, her ICIQ UI scores were much better. We had a 1-year follow-up with her, and she was still symptomless and very thankful that without surgery, we had managed this feeling that she had of all her organs falling out. Next, please. So let us talk a little bit. We all know that the incidence in India of prolapse varies from 20 to 30%. Vaginal births, aging, hormonal changes of menopause are all precipitating factors. And the mainstay of current therapy, as we all know, is primarily operative. Next, please. Well, we know that the problem is huge. I'm not going to get into the details, but vaginal relaxation syndrome or vulvovaginal laxity is associated with delivery and is highly underreported. A survey conducted by the International Urogynecological Association in 2012 showed us that 84% of physicians believe that vaginal laxity was underreported. reported, and 95% believe that this laxity impaired sexual function. Next, please. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons have reported a 30% increase in the rate of vaginal rejuvenation, and an Indian study done at our center in 2015 shows the growing trends of demands for aesthetic vaginal procedures from 3.9% to nearly 30%. Next, please. Energy-based devices have taken the world by a storm today, whether we are talking about radio frequency or lasers. And this has been starting used in 2009-10 for aesthetic benefits of tissue shrinkage. Next. While doing vaginal rejuvenation, which is what the energy-based devices were actually begun for, various other benefits have been observed, which have led the physicians to come up with newer indications and out-of-the-box thinking. So we are ever increasing the indications of using radio frequency and lasers. Next, please. The various thermal energy-based devices. First is the monopolar radio frequency. Then we have the carbon dioxide laser, the erbium YAG lasers. Next, please. We have the high intensity focused ultrasound machines coming up for this. Can you change the slide? We have many types of radio frequency devices available. We have monopolar, quadrupolar, bipolar radio frequency devices. Next, please. How do they work? The focused electromagnetic waves generate heat upon tissue impedance. We know that it is unabsorbed by melanin, so not affected by the color. We have monopolar RF, which initially was developed for transurethral for taking care of stress incontinence. And now we have non-ablative radio frequency, wherein there's no ablation caused to the canal at all. Next, please. So various devices are available. Like I said, I'm not going into the details of these as of now, but usually I've been using the temperature controlled transcutaneous RF, which is monopolar, and we are having excellent results with this. Next. In lasers, we primarily have two types of lasers, the carbon dioxide laser and the erbium YAG laser, which are used for vaginal rejuvenation. Next. So these are the different types of lasers. The ablative carbon dioxide lasers, we have ablative erbium YAG lasers. A very newer tool in the market now is a diode laser. And often now we have dual mode or combination of radio frequency and lasers coming up in these devices. Next, please. Next, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So recently, the surgical procedures and systemic topical treatments have been supplemented with non-invasive energy-based system. And this is a welcome development because of the surgical risk, expense, and the downtime involved. Next. How do these work? I think this is a very, very common question, and that's why I've got into this in detail. It basically works by causing collagen denervation and contracture, and this gives the tissues mechanical support. It stimulates fibroblasts. There's neocollagenesis, and type 1 collagen comes in. Elastic neogenesis happens, and blood flow to that area increases. Next. So this is how radio frequency works. When you heat the tissue, three different kinds of effects are there. There's immediate contraction of collagen, immediate collagen remodeling and elasticity, and long-term stimulation of production of new collagen. Next, please. This type of collagen that now comes is in collagen type 1. I think we all know that as we age, the type of collagen in the body and the amount decreases. Type 1 collagen is the strongest, and this is what is built up in the tissue. Next, please. Recent studies have shown that there's an increase in the small nerve fiber density in the papillary dermis, hence improving the sensitivity of the vagina. Next, please. This is a paper suggesting that. Next. There's also newly formed collagen and increased elastin fibers in the submucosa in the post-treatment biopsies. Next, please. This Goldman study was very interesting, and they showed on histopathology demonstration the increased collagen and elastin fibers. Next, please. The creation of new elastin is relatively unique, and this plays a role in the effectiveness in treating vaginal laxity. Next, please. Next. So vaginal health restoration is a very newer concept that we have with the radio frequency devices. They improve the tissue quality and blood flow, leading to improved exudate and lubrication. They cause thickening of the vulval and the vaginal orifices. And there's improvement of the maturation index and glycogen content. And hence today we are also using them for vaginal health restoration. Next, please. These are the histopathology slides. Give me the next one. And as we can see, there's a huge change in the epithelial tissue that happens. Can you give me the next slide? Look at the changes in the epithelium. It becomes thicker. The maturation index becomes much better. Next, please. So this is at the UV angle, and we'll see the changes in the epithelium here also. Next, please. Next. So today we are not only using the energy-based devices for vaginal tightening, we are using it also for stress incontinence, overactive bladders, frequent washroom visits, orgasmic dysfunction and orgasmia, for grade 1 prolapse, for lack of lubrication, and the various aspects of the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, amongst other things like lichen sclerosis, where we use it very often. Give me the next slide. So let's talk about RF and prolapse. Today we are using it for grade 1 prolapse or for vaginal compartmental defects like a cystocele and a rectocele. In a cystocele, we are basically treating the vaginal wall with radio frequency. For a rectocele, we can use the posterior vaginal wall, and we can go transanally, treat the anterior mucosal wall of the anus, and we are having good results for rectocele. The feeling of the organs pulling down into the vagina goes away for most patients, and it can also decrease the rate of descent of prolapse. Next, please. So this is some of the pictures of the reduction in the prolapse surgery. This is vaginal laxity pre and post 3 treatments of radiofrequency. Next, please. This is a reduction in cystocele at maximum valsalva. Next, please. Next slide, please. And this is the reduction in rectocele. So as you see, on just selective initial rectocele, cystocele, and vaginal laxity, we are having fairly good results. Can you give me the next slide? So these slides are from Dr. Vidya, who is practicing at Indore. While I do radio frequency, she does a lot of erbium YAG lasers, and she is happily using it for grade 1 prolapse with cystocele, rectocele. And again, this is her picture showing the reduction in cystocele. Primarily, the lasers and the radio frequency are working in the same way. Next, please. So they are also very useful for mild to moderate stress incontinence. And we have enough papers and enough studies now showing that it works really well. Next, please. Next. We are also using it for overactive bladders, for urge incontinence, and even those women who have nocturia. Next. Next. So these are the urinary incontinence studies for radio frequency. For stress incontinence, most of the times we are having a 80 to 90% success rate depending on the time, and overactive bladders, a success rate of about 30 to 50. In our center, we did a study where the ICIQUI score decreased from 11.7 to 5.42 in the first preliminary studies that we did, and this was reported as significance. Next, please. So overactive bladder and RF are today being used, and studies are going on which are showing fairly good results. Next, please. And this is the on maximum valsalva again, just showing the reduction of one of the patients who had SUI and we were treating for. Next, please. Next. Though it is advocated that we use it for only mild to moderate SUI, we are also using it for severe stress incontinence, and we have used it in our setup itself, and we are having very good results for the same. Next, please. Next. Lack of lubrication. Next. Sorry, there's a bit, I'm just trying to show the pictures here because I'm not going into the theory to avoid the time issues that we are having. But as you can see the tissue shrinkage and the moisture. And I think this is with 3 sittings of radio frequency 3 months apart. And this is at the end of 6 months. So there's a significant change we are observing in all our patients. Next, please. In some cases of genitourinary syndrome of menopause, the reduction or total elimination of or need of lubricants is seen in patients with severe atrophic vulvovaginitis. Also, there's a reduction or elimination of the vaginal estrogen therapy. A lot of times today we can combine the two if required. However, alone radiofrequency is doing very well for all these symptoms of genitourinary syndrome of menopause. Next, please. Next. Like I said, we are even using the radiofrequency transanal, and this is applicable for rectocele apart from just anal tightening. We are also using it for fecal incontinence and flatulence. Next, please. We are using it as an adjuvant to surgery and tapes. Actually, all our patients who've had vaginal tightening, who've had hysterectomies post TVTO, because incontinence is usually mixed. So we are using it post hysterectomy and improving the quality of tissues. And the patients are reporting much better quality of life after using these procedures. Next. The ability to reverse natural aging of cells and tissue with energy-based devices may become a game changer in menopausal medicine. This is a very interesting paper which shows that these energy-based devices are going to get more and more into the market and showing us remarkable results. Next, please. So, of course, this is pelvic floor strengthening to prevent the pelvic floor issues that we are having. And this is one of the devices for which we call pelvic floor strengthening. It has been used to prevent issues, and we have been using this recently. It's a very, very interesting concept of having a high FEM chair. It stands for high intensity focused electromagnetic waves. It causes muscular contractions of the pelvic floor. Next, please. So, of course, ongoing research is there. These studies are very, very new and probably not enough for giving this as a standard treatment options, but I wanted to present this to open our eyes to know that we are going in the direction of probably as much non-invasive interference as possible. And if we begin early enough, maybe we can change how we are looking at prolapse a few years down the line. Next, please. Next, please. Thank you very much, and I'm ready to take any questions.
Sejal, I'm like really thankful. I guess you are traveling, you are on your way, and you managed to do this presentation from your car in such a short notice. I'm really so grateful and so thankful to you.
Thank you so much.
But I think little we are pressed on time because we made a promise to ourselves that 6 o'clock, because last time was the first time, and it happened like we had to really we delayed the thing a lot, and as I showed you what happened in the quiz in the beginning. So we are a little pressed on time, so we are canceling one of the last cases. That's okay. If time permits, maybe we can discuss a few more cases tomorrow. But if there are any question for Dr. Sejal, I have one question. Can I ask a quick question? And so, Dr. Sejal, what is the cost like, and what is the frequency with which you have to repeat these kind of treatments, especially for prolapse?
So like I said, Dr. Diksha, for prolapse, we are relatively very new in terms of even the studies done. There are enough studies done for vaginal laxity and, maybe stress incontinence and urinary issues rather than prolapse. It's very, very new. As of now, we are following the same protocols we do for urinary leakage. So we normally advocate 3 sittings each a month apart, and then we ask them to follow up after a year. Usually after a year, we do only a single sitting. But
Why are we frozen?
Maybe she is frozen. We are okay. Checking
Is Dr. Sejal's screen only is frozen, or all of us are frozen?
I'm only Dr. Sejal.
Dr. Sejal. So, Dr. Douglas, do you have experience in this kind of conservative procedures? Like, you are more of a surgeon, so do you have any such experience with prolapse and other pelvic floor disorders? And do you have any experience? Do you want to share some things with us? Dr. Douglas, you are with us?
So we have some experience. We decided to get the Mona Lisa laser for our office that had the most science behind it at the time we purchased the equipment. And we've had excellent results. We see people back every 6 weeks for 3 times and at year events for follow-up. I think we probably have a high 85, 90% success rate. It certainly depends upon the state of the condition when you start treatments. But giving them realistic expectations is excellent, and letting patients know with early end stage breast cancer and other things that there is hope and you can get back to normal. It's very satisfying to help patients that way.
Okay, so Dr. Sejal is back with us, I'm sure, it looks like. Dr. Sejal, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I think there's something the issue with the Wi-Fi.
Dr. Douglas started telling his experience, and he also says that his experience is quite fulfilling. So maybe we all can try. Now, one question, especially important: what is the cost?
So I think the cost of the energy-based devices, Dr. Diksha, varies. We have today, with the advent of energy-based devices, when they came in, they were very, very expensive, and each machine would cost us in Indian rupees maybe about 40 lakhs, something here or there. But today, I think with the advent of newer machines coming in, the cost factors have gone down. In fact, we've had Indian manufacture of machines now, and they are fairly affordable. So I think that some of the machines come for even 12-15 lakhs. So it's a very interesting concept. I think, as usual, when advances start, things are very, very expensive, and then we have competition, and then everything starts going down. But I think the very fact that if you can start preventing prolapses, preventing vaginal laxity, treating them early enough,
I think Dr. Sejal is
that surgery may not be, maybe deferred. At least it's a very interesting concept.
No, I just wanted to know what is the usual. I know it is patient to patient, and so many other factors are there, which device you are doing, who is doing the procedure. But on an average, if I have to ask you for 3 settings of patient, how much patient will have to pay for it? Approximate, not exactly the number.
So US dollars, the machine costs a little over $100,000. We break our cost to our patients for a total of $1,800, and we ask them to pay pretty much up front, and that's the accepted cost. We do not run this through RVUs, Medicare, Medicaid system. It is an out-of-pocket expense, and that's the way the company had marketed the Mona Lisa to the US. And still different prescriptions for estrogen creams, custom-made estrogen therapies, S-Trace cream. If you add up the actual cost with deductibles, insurance plans, those can be, $400, $500, $600, dollars a year. And it's not too far away from getting the procedure done versus the cost of the creams.
I agree. I think in India too, we are charging about approximately $1 lakh for 3 sessions. So ultimately, in the world over, we are using probably the same formulas. But let's hope that in the longer run, things can become much more affordable and we can give it to all our patients.
That was a lovely discussion, Dr. Sejal and everybody, Dr. Douglas, Dr. Hebbar. Thank you so much for staying with us till the end. And because there are not only there are few people who are seen on screen, but there are so many people who have been working behind the screen. So I want to call all of them once to the computer screen. So this is Shravya, this is Purna, this is Deepa from our side. The girls have been working day in and day out. And Dr. Miyazaki, sometimes when you come here, you have to teach my girls, and maybe they can come to you in US and learn something from you. And Suvriti, would you like to introduce girls with you?
Yes, ma'am. I have Snehita and Vaishnavi here with me. Vaishnavi was there for the town hall session, and Snehita has been helping us throughout the session.
And these girls have really worked. We feel that it is more difficult to organize a virtual conference than to have a live conference. But I'm sure that they did an exceptional job. Mohit and Roshan and Ronak, if you come there, we can have a picture for our memories together. It will be so nice.